The Japanese are highly advanced when it comes to technology, cars, and science stuff. So it's no wonder they had some of the most innovative and secret war weapons during World War II. Not only did they have some advanced technology, but their kamikaze pilots were absolutely fearless. It's truly a wonder they didn't win the war, and you might be amazed at some of the weapons they had. From balloon bombs to death rays, check out these secret Japanese weapons of World War II. While the rest of the world developed high-powered missiles, the Japanese went in a slightly different direction. That direction was up, and up to the jet stream over the ocean. These nitrogen gas-filled huge balloons had bombs attached to the bottom, sandbags, and timers. The enemy sent them into the winds to be carried across the Atlantic Ocean to the US. When the outer bomb was detonated, it fell into the forests and trees and could cause huge fires and destruction. They hoped this would distract manpower away from the actual war into fighting forest fires instead.
We are in front of the flaming front!
It didn't have quite the bang they had hoped. Although the Japanese did send over 200 balloons to America and Canada, the destruction and casualties these devices caused are unknown. We know how Pearl Harbor turned out. Talk about sea domination. Being an island nation, the Japanese wanted to take the oceans as well as land. These amazing World War II Japanese submarines were fitted with a topside attached cargo space, the airtight holding areas that could house 3 kamikaze planes. The planes were specially designed with foldable wings and tails to be able to fit into the tubular tunnel end to end. When the sub was ready and in place, it would surface and send the planes into attack mode. Unlike traditional aircraft carriers, these planes were never coming back. They had one final and fatal mission: attack the enemy at high speed undetected. The suicide torpedo. The name of this next secret weapon says it all. This 48-foot-long steel torpedo was manned with a young soldier trained to steer the bomb, but set to escape just before impact. The long-ridged bomb and warhead was almost impossible to steer accurately or effectively, and most of the soldiers were fatally injured during training and the testing phases. The driver, or torpedo rider, sat in a flimsy canvas chair and had to attempt to direct the underwater bomb using gyroscopes and periscope and rudimentary controls. However, the 3,000-pound bomb would leak, and most of the pilots drowned or exploded before the target was ever reached. This secret weapon never hit the intended target. Let's take a walk underwater. The Fukuri suicide attack suits were made for just that. These wartime wetsuits were equipped with 30-plus pounds of explosives attached to a 15-foot bamboo pole. The weighted suit would allow the soldier to walk underwater undetected, and sometimes for several hours at a time in deep waters. They would come up alongside an enemy boat and attach the bomb to the side undetected and detonate it, sacrificing themselves in the process and blasting a huge hole in the boat, hoping to sink it on the spot. It is unsure if these suits were ever actually used in World War II. The Japanese pretty much perfected the kamikaze plane during World War II. This basic airplane was simple in design to make the biggest impact. A streamlined shape, simple controls, and a 2,600-pound warhead and rockets for total destruction. The aircraft was basically a rocket, super fast, that could spit out rapid-fire projectiles just before collision to guarantee the enemy would not have time to retaliate or escape. The incredible speed also allowed them to go undetected by radar, and even the best pilots could not outmaneuver them. The kamikaze pilots were held in the highest regards as part of the Japanese war efforts. When you are an island nation like Japan, transporting heavy equipment is always a problem, especially in wartime. You can't exactly get the heavy equipment over to the enemy without long bouts on the sea. The Japanese attempted to overcome their disadvantages with the flying tank. These flying tanks were fitted with detachable wings and water skis that allowed them to go from island to island easily. And more like gliders, the tank would ascend being pulled into the sky with a large cargo plane. They would then glide to the destination to make a soft landing in the shallow water. They would then roll onto the land after the wings and water skis were detached.
Give me! Which way to Berlin?
Several prototypes were built and tested, but were never actually used during the war. Talk about land domination. This next weapon might have been the biggest and baddest war weapon of them all. This 120-ton massive army tank carried 11 crew members, had up to 4 turrets on top, a large cannon plus 2 smaller guns. This indestructible rolling army machine was reportedly used in Manchuria during World War II. The Japanese are not known for their land tanks, but the 97 Chiha is a record breaker when it comes to powerhouse ammunition and potential destruction. It was released late in the war, and maybe a little too late to make any significant headlines or wartime results. If this were brought out earlier in the 40s, we may have seen a very different war. Straight out of science fiction novels, could this be the Death Star inspiration? The Kugo death ray was in development as early as 1939, but never really saw the light of day during World War II. The magnetron laser-type beam was supposed to send a death ray out to destroy the intended target several hundred miles away. And this power beam never really worked like it was designed, thank goodness for that. The Japanese had big dreams that this could be the answer to their secret weapon arsenals, but calculations did not quite add up to laser beam success. Although calculations estimate that the ray could have killed a rabbit at about 100 yards away, but only if the rabbit was perfectly still for at least 5 minutes, the time it took the beam to reach it. Not exactly the most efficient war weapon, but great imagination. And thanks to Lucasfilm, we got to see an interstellar version on the big screen 30 years later. The Mitsubishi J8M was a rocket-powered speed plane developed near the end of World War II. The name translates in English to sharp sword. This variation of German technology was adopted by the Japanese. These super-fast jet planes had a small nose and a wide body, extended fuselage, and long wingspan for carrying a nice payload of ammunition, including a cannon and extra fuel for long-range flights. These interceptors were designed for war and intercepting the enemy long before they arrived on native territory. The Japanese had 6 versions of this rocket plane that proved to be an important part of the Japanese military effort. Project Z was a secret project to develop long-range bombers to be able to reach America from Japan. The Japanese needed this technology to fight effectively in World War II. The Germans were also in the long-range bomber game. The Z bombers included several attempts to perfect the aircraft and to make them intercontinental fighters. The G-10N had a maximum speed of 679 kilometers per hour, included 4 20mm guns and cannons, and could hold up to 20,000 kilograms of bombs. That is one powerful flying weapon. And the last Z bomber on the list, the Kawasaki Ki-91, had a maximum speed of 570 kilometers per hour, 8 20mm guns, 2 cannons in each dorsal, ventral, under fuselage, nose, and tail, and up to 8,000 kilograms of bombs. You wouldn't want to get in the way of these flying warplanes. With the war closing in, the Japanese had a late-in-the-game entry, the 400 class submarine series. This was a serious fighting weapon of the sea, over 60% larger than the biggest US submarine with twice the range. It could hold 3 aircraft and had double pasteurized hulls that inspired the enormous Russian destroyer fleet in later years. This incredible ship came into fruition just a little too late to make any serious impact on the outcome of World War II, with completion in 1945, only months before the Japanese surrender. The warship was taken into US custody and docked in Hawaii for study and dissection. Good thing too, the technology would have been a contender and up for grabs if it had gotten into enemy hands for sure. Although the Japanese were ahead of their game when it comes to groundbreaking secret weapons, maybe they tried to spread their technology a little too thin to be as effective as good old-fashioned grunt and manpower. And when the US won the atomic race, that literally knocked everyone else out of the water, so to speak. We hope you enjoyed the video. Which of these weapons did you think was the coolest? Tell us in the comments, and if you liked the video, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you'll be the first to know when a new video comes out. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.